Hey guys, what's up? In today's video, I'm bringing you a bit of GTA Online gameplay, and I'm going to talk about the recent Nintendo Switch announcement. And in particular, I'm going to talk about my big disappointment of the Nintendo Switch announcement trailer and everything we've seen in there, and also what we've not seen in there. I'm going to go into this in this video in a bit more detail. Now, first of all, when I watched it, like I said, I was just majorly underwhelmed. Like, I wasn't excited by it at all. There's so many questions that arouse from this trailer, many more questions than answers. So I'm just basically not at all excited. And I thought, surely everyone else would feel the same, right? It just wasn't a very exciting trailer to me. Went on the internet and everyone else is really excited and sees loads of positive things and aspects in it. So I thought it's worth making a video in which I break down my thoughts on the Nintendo Switch and why I actually think it will fail. And I can imagine what you guys are thinking. You're like, oh, he's putting clickbait, yeah? Nintendo Switch fails in the title, yeah, the clickbait. No, it's my honest opinion. I think this device will fail, and I'm going to tell you why. There are a few obvious things, like for instance, I mean, that's the big thing that gave me the main hiccup, is like, they've already said that the actual console, and by the way, let me just put that in here, if you haven't seen the announcement trailer, then go watch that. I'll link it down in the description because otherwise nothing here makes sense to you, right? So go watch the Nintendo Switch announcement trailer down in the description. Now, first of all, what they've shown was a box that you can slot a tablet into, and they already announced that inside the actual box, so the box without the tablet, just the little box, is just there to transfer video to your screen. There's no actual hardware in there, like powerful hardware that would support your gaming experience. So all hardware that runs your games is inside the tablet, right? Now, we've seen incredible stuff with tablets, right? Like the power of the recent iPad generation and also like Android tablets is just incredible. They render these high-end 3D applications. But the big problem with that form factor is battery life. I mean, there's a reason why the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 come in a rather big box, right? Because they need space to house all the hardware that you need to run these games. You need space to have a battery unit in there that powers the experience. If you could fit all that in a tablet, I think personally someone else would have done it. And there are other companies who've done it. I think Razer has done a tablet that's very similar to what the Nintendo Switch is. But I don't want to just run around and talk all negative about the Switch, because I think there are also some positive aspects to this announcement that looked really nice and promising. Like, for instance, it looked like a great seamless experience. And I mean, Nintendo is known for creating these experiences, right? You know, when the guy took the tablet out of the console, the image immediately mirrored from the TV to the tablet. Obviously, that's just, you know, CGI. It's made up for the video, basically imposed on an empty tablet, I assume. But nonetheless, it looked great. And if they can deliver that smooth experience, basically without any hiccups, then I think that's going to be great. It's really going to be like a new next level mobile gaming experience if you can take it on the go, as they've shown it in the video. Also, obviously, they've shown AAA games running on their tablet, or basically on the go. So they promise playing AAA games on the go. I love their approach to mobile but local multiplayer, if that makes sense. Like the two guys sitting in the back of a van, and then you take what normally is one big controller apart. Each one gets a half of that controller, so you have a little joystick and a few buttons, and you can play Mario Kart against each other in the back of the car. Awesome stuff. I would love to do that. You know, I'm sure my son would love to do that. So that's definitely really good stuff. That's creative. That's something I've seen nowhere else. And I want to see more of that. Generally, it looked like they're really going down the versatility route. Is that right? Versatility. Creating a really versatile device that can be used in many different ways and in many different situations. And basically, the idea is that the gaming device comes with you wherever you go. So I like that approach. And then obviously, speaking about positives as well, all the titles, right? People buy Nintendo consoles for the first-party games, so they teased a new Mario, they showed Zelda, they showed Splatoon. So obviously, Nintendo fans are excited and they want more of that. But beyond that, I couldn't really see any extremely positive points, right? I mean, let's go back to this tablet form factor. I would just want to put a few more words on that, because they haven't given us any hardware specifications, right? So we don't know what exactly the hardware inside the Nintendo Switch is, but we know the limitations of the hardware because so many manufacturers, from Apple to Samsung to everyone else, is building tablets and everyone is trying to put the best chips in there. Now, they do work with NVIDIA, which is great, and I can imagine that they do have a few tricks up their sleeve, how they maybe create a more powerful tablet that's more specific to gaming and has maybe more VRAM or something like that than usual tablets. But the form factor of the tablet, in my opinion, limits you so much, right, that you will not be able to deliver the hardware that third-party developers need to bring their games, like, for instance, whatever, Watch Dogs 2 or something, to this console. I just can't imagine that a game like Watch Dogs 2 is running on this small tablet. Now, Nintendo has already said that they are working closely with all these third-party developers, and they've shown this sheet. I'm going to put it here on the screen so you can see it, of all third-party developers and publishers who they're partnering with to create, games for the Nintendo Switch. But the problem I have with that, and that was underlined in an interview actually today with the president of Nintendo, where he said, yeah, they are really keen, all these publishers and developers, to create experiences that would only work on the Switch. That to me means we're not bringing our AAA games to your console. That's not our aim. We're going to create separate games that maybe use the broken apart controller and you can play multiplayer games on the go or something. Like the unique selling feature of this console will be used in separate games. That's what it tells me, and I'm just concerned that Nintendo is making the same mistake again that they did with the Wii U, where they hand out or they sell a underpowered console and all the AAA developers just jump off the boat, right? They're just leaving because they don't want to develop for it, and then later on there wasn't enough of this install base, and basically the console died because of the poor hardware and also the architecture of the device. But it's just so obvious that they should have done it differently this time. They should have come out with a really powerful machine running on x86 architecture or something. Then you can still have your first-party games, all your Marios, running at amazing 60 FPS and they look fantastic. But also, you really create that platform for third-party developers. And it looks like Nintendo doesn't really care. Looking at this device tells me that Nintendo says they care about third-party developers, but they don't really care. They even went that far. After the announcement video came out a few days later, they said, actually, Skyrim the Enhanced Edition is not really confirmed for the Nintendo Switch yet. Just want to make this clear. So they show a game inside their trailer, which possibly is not even coming because, in my opinion, that's just me speculating, but because the console is not powerful enough. The same applies to NBA 2K17, right? You remember the scene in the trailer? Guys playing basketball, and then afterwards they play a bit of NBA 2K17. That's a quite demanding game, right? That game looks really good, and it does need a bit of powerful hardware. So they're like, oh, that's actually not really confirmed yet. Especially considering what people they've shown in the video. These kind of middle-aged young adult gamers, right? Like really hip kids who now want to play video games on the go and all that. So if they're catering a device to this audience, then they need to consider that these kids want the latest high-end gaming experiences. They want either a PC or at least a PlayStation or an Xbox One where you can play nice HD games and they look great, and you walk through the city and you see the Uncharted poster and you can go home and play that game. And I mean, Uncharted is probably a bad example because it's a PlayStation exclusive, but you get the idea, right? Kids these days, in my opinion, want to play these games. They want to play these third-party games, and if they can't come to the Switch because of the hardware, the restrictions that is the form factor of the tablet, then that's going to ruin the console, in my opinion, because people won't buy it. Another aspect is that the console is not backwards compatible. So you can't play 3DS or Wii U games on your Switch. And that's just stuff where I'm like, come on, Nintendo. It's 2016. There surely must be a way to emulate that somehow. Why don't you put the effort into that? It just feels overall a little bit rushed, right? This video they shown looked to me like a proof of concept video where they show what the vision is for the device. But considering they want to launch in, I think, March next year already, there's not much room for a vision now. This device has to be built soon and it has to be ready. And I'm not entirely sure they are there yet. Now, another interesting point is, I'm going to put an image here as well of screen grab from this video, from the announcement video, where you see a few amiibos sitting next to the console. And a few nifty internet guys actually took the dimensions of the amiibo, measured out the console, and with that, if the measurements are correct of the amiibos, then you get the dimensions of the console and the dimensions of the screen. Now the console size, based on that measurement, is 10.23 centimeters by 16.75 centimeters wide. So that's just over, like, it's 16, 17 centimeters wide. That's not big. That measurement leads to a screen size of 7.8 centimeters to 13.4 centimeters, which adds down to a 6.2-inch screen. Now, that is bigger than a 3DS, and it's also bigger than the Vita, but it's much smaller than an iPad, for instance. And the question is it really big enough for a AAA experience, right? We've seen the video, the announcement video. The guy is sitting in the plane with his two controllers, two broken apart controllers in his hands, and he's playing on the screen in front of him, which sits on a small table. But the proportion just seemed off to me. If you look at Skyrim, which he was playing, you have small copy on the screen, like text on the screen that you need to read. And I just doubt if you have a screen that far away from you that is that small, like a 6.2-inch screen that, by the way, rumors are now stating is a 720p touchscreen. Take that with a grain of salt. It's just a rumor floating around, but apparently it has touch, and I don't see why it shouldn't. And it's 720p, which makes sense for the battery life aspect, right? The lower your resolution, the better your battery life is. And I think for a 6.2-inch screen, 720p is more than fine. But is it enough to deliver a AAA experience? I'm saying it's not. And then, last but not least, let's talk about the design of this device. Now, it feels extremely messy to me. It doesn't have the iconic looks that other consoles or even the Wii had. The modular gamepad doesn't look very ergonomic, right? It doesn't look very comfortable to use. Very reminiscent of the WiiU gamepad, the big one with the screen, and a lot of people didn't like how that feels in your hand. The Pro controller looks a little bit like the Ouya controller to me. It looks flimsy, unfinished, a bit plasticky. Just not like a great controller. I mean, honestly, I didn't touch it yet, obviously. So I'm just speculating based on what they've shown here. But also the consistency between the portable controller, the tablet, the actual console, and the Pro controller. It seems to me that there's no consistency there from one to the other, right? It all feels a bit random. And there was this guy, see if I can find the images, but who colored actually the consoles. And that added a little bit consistency to it, because then you have the same orange in the controller, the portable controller and the actual console. And it kind of felt more like there's a red thread going through it. So in conclusion, if the impression that the Switch communicated turns out to be true, then I think the Switch is bound to fail. It's just not that unique of a product. It's not innovative or interesting enough as the Wii was, right? If you remember, you saw the Wii for the first time, people using motion controllers. That was a completely new thing. And even they just had these quotation marks tech demos where you play bowling or tennis, but the thing was, everyone wanted to try it. You saw the device, you were like, oh, that's cool, I want to try that, right? So I don't see this aspect in this new console, in the Nintendo Switch. Also, I feel that what they've shown in the video is incredibly detached from the real life, from reality. They try to be very real with all their basketball playing and driving around in a car and all that. But I feel that a device like this in real life scenarios just doesn't work as they've shown it in this video. The Vita has kind of proven that point as well. I love my Vita and I use it regularly, but only when I go on long travels, which doesn't happen that often, right? If you're in an airplane or you're like 10 hours somewhere out there, then the Vita is perfect. And then I could really imagine that the Nintendo Switch would really make a great match. But how often does that happen, right? How often are you on the go and you need that portable device that you can take with you everywhere? It's nothing for me, but again, maybe I'm misreading the young generation of kids, right? They might love this and take it everywhere. I'm sure it's going to be a massive success in Japan, because in Japan, mobile gaming is just, it's a huge thing. And I think these guys want proper AAA games on the go. So I think in Japan, something like this can work. In the Western market, I don't really see it happening. It feels a bit like, for instance, smartwatches and also motion controls, just talking about this, because all these things are great concepts on the paper and they look really, really cool. But then they're given in the hands of developers. And what can you do with the Nintendo Switch that you can't do with other devices, right? Where's the advantage for a developer to create unique experiences? And as it is with the smartwatch, and as it was with motion controls, there are just no real uses for it. And people are like, yeah, I guess you could pull a lever with that motion control, and I guess, and it didn't really work, and it didn't add to the experience. There is just no real life scenario where it makes sense to have these devices. And I think that will be also a big problem for the Nintendo Switch, that there is no real life use for this whole portability aspect of the console. Now, guys, I'm sure you have a different opinion. Obviously, I would love to hear that. Honestly, I'm always open for any kind of debate. You can make, your points on any of my points. It would be nice to have a little discussion going on down in the comment section below. Beyond that, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, you can leave me a like. You can subscribe to the channel if you have not yet done that. Otherwise, guys, take care, and I'll see you next time. I'm out. Bye.